Here we are at the spoiler portion bonus episode for Kaiju number 8.
Mm-hmm.
We are both a little bit excited to talk about the spoilers.
Yes, I'm very excited to talk about this.
So,
If you
Dean,
listen to our last episode, I gave
yeah,
it a 10 out of 10. So I'm very excited to talk about everything about it.
yeah. So where would you like to start, Dean? You got anywhere you wanna jump in on?
Let me just say, probably the most funniest thing that made me laugh in this entire thing is that he was at 0 power percent, and then he did so much and became 0.01% and was proud of that. And I just thought that was the funniest thing.
So, just for reference, obviously,
Yeah.
if you're in the spoiler episode, or maybe you're listening to it and you don't really have intentions of watching, but the power percentage he's talking about is they have like an unleashed power rating for the all right. So they all are in something called the Defense Force, and they get these cool suits that are made of kaiju material,
I guess, right?
Yeah, and that helps bring out what's called their unleashed power.
Potential, yeah.
Yeah, and Kafka, who's the main character, he funnily everyone gets like something cool, right? They get like 18%, 20 something percent, and a couple actually are pretty highly rated. And then Kafka's gets announced, and his is 0%, and he's 0%. Just like, ugh!
But just with all the training, and all of a sudden it's like 0.01%, and
and he's so excited. I actually let me get this out for the. I took a bunch of screenshots because I want to let me get this off screen. We don't need that anymore.
And you watched it in sub, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I honestly think you might like it in dub because the voice acting is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's really well done.
All right, I guess maybe I didn't take of that specific part. I thought I did, but basically, he's so excited, and there's this girl. Her name's Kikoru.
Who I thought was a brat.
He
first
is like they have like a cool dynamic. Like, in a way, she's attached to him, because I, in my opinion, I think it's because he's kind of like a little bit of a father figure.
Yeah, they definitely give off like a love vibe, but I don't think.
Yeah, I get that too. I got a little bit of both.
Yeah,
my thing is that but obviously he's got a little bit of tsundere in her, and she doesn't like want to admit it.
Yeah, there is some crushing going on, I think.
Actually,
but I think it is more of like a father figure because of just how strict her father is.
Yeah.
And then he's just so kind of chillaxed, even for an old man. You know, he's only 30 something.
Yeah. And then but yeah, she's like running away from him as he really wants to celebrate that he got that 0.01 increase. And she's like she's basically just like, get away from me, and running away. It was funny. Let's see. So I have like some my midway thoughts here.
Yeah. Why don't you go? Because like me, I'll go off of what you say.
Yeah. So
with what I think.
I thought the first couple episodes were okay. They weren't bad, but it just was, as I said earlier, and that they were just kind of slow to pull me in. But after that, it was fantastic. Kikoru, like when she first meets Kafka, I think is hilarious.
Yes.
She just essentially, Kafka, they all go to this exam to try out for the Defense Force, and they get to the academy, and he parks in a spot. It's just an open parking lot, and then she gets pissed that he parked there and picks up his car and just throws it. Because
the company car.
And yeah, so I thought that was funny, and that just was like the start of their kind of hilarious dynamic.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, for a anime that's like pretty much a comedy, I think. Like it has some freaking awesome moments, like when he turned into the kaiju for the first time, like in the hospital, like just like where he like he's like glowing and stuff, and like he's right there and it's like this big moment and then he's like and then they both like scream or whatever. I love
Yeah.
the dynamic of comedy and like kind of badassery
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, they put some charm and
Mm-hmm.
some comedic moments in the middle of some tense situations, and they did
Yeah.
it in a fun and
Good
kind of
way.
cute
Yeah.
way
Yes.
where Kafka sometimes when he's in his kaiju form, like they still do these cute moments with him in that, and that makes it kind of almost
Mm-hmm.
even cuter because he's just like kind of a freaky looking kaiju dude, but
Yeah.
they make it look cute, and so they did
I want a plushie
right.
for sure.
And so let's see. But there's another character, Ichikawa.
Mhm.
Kafka meets Ichikawa, or it's the other way around, I should say, because Ichikawa joins the kaiju cleanup crew that Kafka works for,
Yep.
and that's where their relationship starts immediately. He basically becomes like a little brother to him pretty quick, and Ichikawa wants to be strong so that Kafka doesn't have to transform and potentially get killed for it, because the defense force is there to kill kaijus, right? I'm kind of jumping ahead there, but the long and the short of it is Kafka, he has his transformation and he's not very powerful at all when he's in his human form.
Yeah, no.
So, but there's some moments where he really feels like he wants to transform, but Ichikawa is kind of like, no, don't do it. Like that you're going to get killed if you do this, because there's some pretty strong people in the defense force like Mina Ashiro, who
happens to be Kafka's longtime friend.
Yep.
Like childhood friend. So that's one of his motivations for trying to be in the defense force as well.
Yeah, because they touch on it a little bit with a flashback where they're children and they're obviously very close, and they basically promise to each other to join the defense force together.
Yeah,
and what ends up happening is Mina does, but Kafka doesn't, and he's a cleanup crew worker.
Yeah,
and he gets super depressed, and which is understandable. But now that he's in the defense force with Mina, who's at the very top. She's like the strongest.
Yep.
And he's so excited to get a chance to stand by her side, but he also has to tread carefully with this new kaiju form that he has, so he doesn't get killed. Oh yeah, so we should probably mention how he turns into a kaiju, right?
Oh yeah. So I guess after the cleanup, and like there's a kaiju that like attacks him and Ichikawa, right? Then they're in the hospital, like just doing their thing, recovering. And then all of a sudden a flying like leech kaiju thing that can talk.
Kind of remind me of a really gross dehydrated Birdo.
Yeah, it does have like that mouth with it's like it is like a Birdo, I guess so,
but flies obviously.
Basically goes into his gullet, just goes through his mouth and like
just climbs his way down. Yeah,
I'm assuming like with later episodes where it's like that's his heart, I'm assuming it like forms into his heart or leaches into his heart. I'm not really sure.
The way
I don't know
took
what
it
you got it
was that it just like kind of not necessarily rewrote his DNA, but just became a part of him.
Okay.
I don't really like, in just the core is just there. I don't know that it's the core, but it just rewrote his DNA and he was able to transform into a kaiju.
Yeah.
Not a big one, just a humanoid looking one.
Yeah. It's like semi taller, but you know.
So it was interesting how that happened, because it wasn't like a cutesy moment. It was like, I'm gonna dive into your throat.
It was pretty brutal
and turn you into a kaiju. And then on the spot, he what happened? At first Ichikawa didn't know what happened. I think wasn't he just kind of like talking at the
I
moment,
think so. And
and
then
all of a
he's like,
sudden,
"There's a kaiju," and he's like, "What? Where?" I'm pretty sure like that. And then
yeah.
just it was a like a funny moment
Yeah, he
too.
looks in the window and he sees his reflection. He's like, "Oh
Yeah,
my god!"
sir, is that you?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then things just kind of crazy from there. It was funny.
yeah. Um,
So, and that's where he gets. So, what happens there is he ends up like kind of smashing up the place a little bit and scaring a lot of people in the hospital. And then the kaiju alarm starts going off because a kaiju's reported, but they end up escaping to another area and fighting another kaiju.
Oh, yeah, and he ends up saving like civilians, and then the defense force comes, and I think that's when he gets his moniker, like
Yep.
Kaiju number 8, right?
Yeah.
Is when that's what they mark him.
Yeah.
And there's numbered kaijus, which are like the strongest kaijus, like Dai Kaiju. Is that what they're called? Dai
Kaiju.
Kaiju.
Yep. And that's
Yeah,
with a fortitude of 8 and up, I think.
yeah, 8 and up, I believe. Yeah, and so that's what that is, and
And it's funny too because at first I was getting confused with how they were naming all the different kaiju. I wasn't sure
mhm,
what the factor was for them to be like a Honju or a Yoju.
yeah,
And then eventually I picked it up, but so there's you have all the kaijus, but they're all different like classifications. So you have
yes,
Honju, which I think is 6 and up. I think
I think so. Those are like some weak. Those
they're
are like the
big, but
weaker
they're
ones,
usually a
but
little bit on the weaker side.
yeah,
They're not like super weak. They can definitely pose a threat, but basically
yeah.
those wyvern class kaiju
Oh
are
yeah,
all
that's
Honju.
right. Okay,
The
yeah, that's right.
and then there was Yoju, which are like smaller, kind of
Yeah,
easy picking, except for Kafka in his human form.
yeah,
Because here's the funny part when they go on their first mission to destroy that giant kaiju that appears. It was kind of like a turtle mushroom looking
oh
thing.
yeah, like the mushroom thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then but Kafka like goes in, he gets really confident in himself, and he's like, I can do this. And he starts charging one of the incoming Yoju, and he just gets swatted away like a fly.
Yeah, that's right. But I do like that they see, like, this is why I when I mentioned I wanted it more like where he might not have turned into a kaiju, and it would be interesting to see because like he used his knowledge of kaiju cleanup crew to be able to help the defense force, like without using strength and
Yeah.
without using his kaiju power.
Yeah. And
Like that's why,
Hoshina
yeah,
took
that
such a liking to him. That and he was
yes.
hilarious.
Yes, that is why, like, I say, like, I kind of wish I saw a different version as well, like, where he didn't have this kaiju power, where it was just him, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely. And the other
using
thing I
that.
would say, and like to add on to that
Yeah.
exact thing, is when he is in his kaiju form, he's just so powerful, and he's
Yeah. Yes.
essentially a
One Punch Man. Yeah, that's exactly what I got. Like, as soon as he transforms, I already know, like, he's gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So it's just
but yeah,
like,
no, it's really cool. And then when Kaiju number 9 came in, I thought that was one of the coolest entrances ever. Like I got chills when he formed. Like the guy with the mushroom head thing.
Mhm.
That's
yeah.
I thought that was
crazy
a really
moment.
cool entrance, and I'm like, who the
Then my
is
girl,
this?
like Kikoru, just she gets the
And
first encounter with it, and it just
yeah,
does this like finger gun thing. They don't talk about what kind of attack it is, but
no,
it's very devastating. Basically, shoots a
like
projectile
air.
out of its finger,
Yeah,
and
it's basically
devastating.
air.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just like it's really cool, like air bullets, I guess.
yeah.
Um,
So that
yeah.
was definitely an awesome scene.
Oh yeah,
I definitely took screenshots of that. Let me,
yes.
put that on
Yeah,
here.
when Kaiju number 9 entered, I'm like, all right, this is awesome.
Right.
Like that's where it start. Like it was already an 8 at that point, and I'm like, all right, it bumped up to 10. Like just the comedy, the badassery,
Yeah.
just all like I can familiarize myself with Kafka. Like I see me in him a lot.
This guy
Yeah,
right
there he
here.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they
I
call
did.
did I can't did you say this that they named him Kaiju number 9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kaiju number 9.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, he messes Hikoru up pretty bad.
oh yeah.
And she's strong. She's like she's the strongest in this group of recruits.
Yeah.
They call them the 3rd division. And this group goes into the 3rd division, I should say.
Yes, this one, yes.
And yeah, she gets messed up. She had her unleashed combat powers like 42% at the very beginning. So she's considered the strongest in the group by far.
She's probably had tons of training because her dad is like the what was he? The commander?
The director,
director
of the defense force. And he's a douchebag.
But that battle with him and Kafka, like when he...
Yeah, it was crazy. It was the first time that Kafka had any trouble.
Yes. So okay. This is where like I wanted to point out an animation. I don't know if you've noticed it, but there is like 2 frames where it forms into... It looks like manga black and white. Transition for like 2 frames, and I'm like, I thought that was...
It was probably
so good looking.
Did I get I definitely got one that was close to it. It was close to a moment like this, right here.
Yeah, it was like before he
and this
went
animation
after
is
him.
Sick. I love. Yes, this is so cool. This is when Kafka's been captured.
Yes,
and brought to the Defense Force HQ to be not necessarily to be judged, essentially, whether he's human or kaiju. And this is, as you know, if you've seen it, is the director who is Kikoru's father. And he is wielding, or is he? Yeah, in this moment he's wielding.
Yeah, he is
gauntlets that were made from Kaiju number 2, who is is essentially Godzilla.
Yes.
Just with a little bit different because obviously they can't make Godzilla.
No. This was a fantastic fight. And this is the last episode too. So
yeah, this was God, the animation of this was so good.
Yeah. But like those 2 frames, I'm like, oh, that looks so good. Like I love when anime does that. Like they break their own animation to go back into like manga animation, like black and white drawn, like that's how powerful he became at that moment, like breaking reality. I don't know. I loved it.
No, I'm with you there. And the moment in this, so at this point in the show, it's obviously towards the end.
Yeah.
You've got Kikoru who is at this point very attached to Kafka. But also, her father's out there as well. While she has her moments with him, she obviously still really cares about his opinion and things like that.
Yeah.
But she's struggling in this moment to, like, they're going to kill each other, right? So she's having a struggle if Kafka's going to die here, it's going to be devastating to her. But also, if Kafka kills her father, there's no good ending to this.
Yeah. Because I believe a kaiju also killed her mom, right?
Yeah. And that's the whole, the reason she's in the Defense Force. Her father kind of got her right into it, right? I don't think they go into details about how she gets started.
Yeah, no, not a big thing.
Definitely a driving factor for her becoming strong.
Right. Yeah, we kind of skipped ahead to that. I just wanted to talk about that animation stuff. So.
No, you're good.
Because I know I definitely want to talk about the vice captain. What is his name again?
The vice captain, Hoshina.
Yeah, Hoshina. You're right by saying he is like Levi from Attack on Titan, because he is like. So he's like, what I lack in strength, I forget what he said, but he basically uses blades. Like he sucks with a gun, but he's really good with blades. And I don't know, but that first introduction to him using his thing, because beforehand he's just kind of like this goofy guy who loves Kafka because he just makes him laugh.
Yeah,
and
it's hilarious.
And then all of a sudden he's just like. He's just like Gojo all of a sudden, just like, all right, let me show you what I can do, and just like, whoa, God, I love it so much.
Right.
Oh,
there is
so good.
So a lot of the similarities that I see with him and Levi, and maybe it's intentional, which is fine if it is, because I mean they can both be their own great characters.
Yeah.
When you had that dragon type kaiju coming in, it was very humanoid.
The red one? Yeah.
He has it after it transforms, and it gets much bigger, and it turns into it goes from like a fortitude 8 something to a fortitude 9.
Mm-hmm.
Hoshina's having his fight, and it's very reminiscent to him Levi going all out with the Beast Titan.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I definitely got those vibes for sure.
Yeah, he does this thing where like he's running on his arm. He's very fast like Levi, right?
Yeah.
And he's very agile, and he does this thing. He's running on its arm, and he's cutting it in places where that would slow it down, like tendon, almost like as if it had tendons, and he was trying to cut his tendons.
Yeah.
So that was cool. It was an awesome fight, first off, and it really gave Hoshina his moment, because sometimes you get these awesome characters and they don't get to have their big moment.
Yeah.
But Hoshina, he's hilarious throughout, but he has his serious moments with Kafka, and he finally gets to have his moment here in the sun, and has a pretty awesome fight with his kaiju.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I like the dynamic of him kind of being like a mentor to Kafka a little bit, like not necessarily with the strength. Like he sees Kafka's strength in knowledge of kaijus and how he can help, because that's why he was like, when he was in the library or whatever, he's like, all right, just lock up when you're done, like knowing like he's doing his part even if he's not strong. And this is before everyone finds out about him being able to turn it into a kaiju. So I just kind of like that dynamic as well, because he ended up like being more of like a main character than Mina really did. You saw more of the vice captain more, really.
Yeah, but I do love how I think they're really paving the way for Mina, because obviously she didn't have a lot of screen time, but clearly she still has like a love for Kafka in a way. Like I don't know that they had those feelings, but clearly she wants him to fulfill his promise. Like so they can fulfill their promise and fight side by side together.
Yeah,
and that really comes to you start seeing that a lot in the last couple episodes.
Yeah,
and
especially the last one when she's giving like her report.
As she's fighting for like him to not be killed.
Yeah,
like to the defense force because he's a kaiju.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on one more thing because I'm running out of time.
Okay.
And it's something that just like it was one of my most probably touching moments for me with two of my favorite characters, and that's Kafka and Kikoru. It's when it was on their first mission.
Okay.
And Kafka really had no choice but to go. So what happened was Ichikawa. It was with a character called Iharu. He's the redhead with the sharp teeth.
Oh yeah.
And they get their encounter with Kaiju number 9, right?
Oh right, yes.
And it's basically battering them, and that gets reported over the radio because the home base can see everyone's vitals because of their suits that they're wearing. So it gets reported that Ichikawa's vitals are bleak, and Kafka gets this, and in being kind of like the big brother now, he has to go, and he needs to, in order to get there, he needs to transform. So Kikoru is very upset about this. Their relationship has grown. Essentially what happens is he gets into this fight and he does his thing, and what happens, Hoshina finds him, right? The defense force ends up finding him in kaiju form. They don't know it's Kafka, but Hoshina declares that over the radio, and like Ichikawa and Kikoru are very worried at this point because they know how strong Hoshina is.
Yeah.
And they have their fight, and it's a pretty awesome fight.
It is pretty awesome.
But they don't know if Kafka is going to get killed here or not. So to kind of shorten this up a little bit, Kafka survives and makes his way back to Kikoru. And I love this. This part gave me chills. It made me like sad. But he finds her like just chilling on this dead Yojo.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to like show it. Kafka's like, yeah, I must have worried you. Like,
yeah, she's like, no.
And she's like, no, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but like the original look on her face, what like made me so. I don't know what it is about. Like, this was her original reaction to seeing him.
Yeah.
She was she was super glad.
Yeah.
He was okay.
But she's got to be the tough one.
Yeah, exactly. But then when it got into that moment, she's like, no, I didn't care at all. So I love that moment between them.
That was a good moment.
And they do have other moments, and they keep growing.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments like that, and yeah, definitely a reaction feeling wise for me too. Just like feel good moments, like like. I know you like them. Don't you show us? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
And she does cry later in the show. She has those moments, and I wish I had more time to touch on this more because I would love to touch on it all. But if is there anything else you'd like to touch on quick before?
No, I said pretty much what I wanted to say. I will say having a white tiger as your like battle buddy is awesome.
It's awesome, right?
Mina, the main Mina defense
Ashido.
force. Yeah. She just has like a white tiger as like her pet to also attack kaiju. And sense it, I guess, because animal. So I don't know. I thought that was cool too. But
yeah,
she's
badass. She's got a badass pet. Maybe they'll go into how she got that pet in the future.
Oh yeah, maybe
it's like technically a kaiju or something.
Oh yeah, maybe. Oh yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Good thought. Yeah.
So
cool.
But yeah, we'll unfortunately running low on time here, so we're gonna call it there. And that was our spoiler discussion. It was a little bit jumpy, but if you've seen the show, then you'll at least have some.
I think I got too excited about everything. I was like, oh, this moment, but this moment, but this moment.
Right. But it's all good.
It's good. Yeah.
We love the show, and these things happen when you get excited about something.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for joining us for this bonus episode. If you did, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See y'all. Mata Ato D. Right?
Mata Ato Day.
Mata Ato Day.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right. See you later.
See ya.